Everybody, this is NJ here, the host of the NJ podcast, and this is episode number 27. And I've got a very great guest today on the show. This is a show where we talk to people from all walks of life. I don't really care where it is that you come from, whether you're a retail powerhouse, a retail superstar, a retail extraordinaire. I believe that everybody has got a story to share and a perspective to give us that will improve the quality of our lives. And remember, the theme of the show is that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That means you're going after what you've always wanted to go after, not because somebody else is like forcing you to do it, because it's aligned with what you think is worth it for you the most. And that's the only way for you to really live a truly fulfilled and inspired life. And on the show today, we have Tsiamo Mathibela. And I've been wanting to speak to her for about a year now, whole year after she and this brand that she represents has been taking all my bonus money and Christmas money and shoes and all that. So just a quick about Tsiamo. So she's a store designer and retail general manager with experience in designing well-curated experiential layouts. She has the ability to collaborate and partner with a business to reinvent a retail environment through design, building, and day-to-day operational management. She has worked with large teams through end-to-end project management. I salute you because I do project management myself, so strong person. It's a lot. It's a lot to ensure operational excellence. Her passion lies in bringing ideas and concepts to life through project management and planning for efficiency and the best outcomes. So, yes, wow, Tsiamo.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so much for the invite. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, other than the great introduction that you've got in your profile, just give us a bit of your own perspective on where you're from, or where you are, where you plan on going. It's basically who's Tsiamo, where's Tsiamo going, and why is Tsiamo?
Who is Tsiamo? Tsiamo is, I think, a very, very upbeat, very friendly lover of people. I grew up in a fairly small town in Krugersdorp called Kagiso. Only place I know is home, being there for most of my life. And I'm a West Rand girl.
West Rand?
Yes.
West Rand?
I went to Westridge High School. And just the West really is just plays a really huge part of my life. Where I'm at right now, I think, despite that very long and I think very detailed introduction, I'm basically just a developer and a creator, and what that basically means, I love and have a huge passion for just taking ideas, developing them, bringing them to life, and standing back and saying, wow, did I make that?
Well, not that I did that, but did I do that?
Yes. I love working with new ideas. Conceptualizing, bringing everything together, bringing the team, bringing the idea to life, and then just seeing the success of that idea. Where am I going? I think was your other question.
Yeah.
Sure. I think just the last 3 years have definitely been, I think, the most challenging years, I think, of my life. The last 3 years have been absolutely insane.
Can you imagine?
In every aspect. Personally, professionally, it's been an uphill. But I stand and I look back and I'm so proud. And I don't really know if I have the answer to where am I going. But one thing I'm certain of is that I'm always so open to learning something new and thrive with being challenged. If I'm not challenged, I get completely bored. And I think just that ability to open myself up to, one, I think conforming to change, learning new things within that period of change and transformation, and then always being challenged, I think, is what, during all of that, I kind of figure out where am I going. But right now, I am definitely looking for something more challenging. Still very passionate about what I do. But I think that's where I'm going right now.
So how did you get into the space of retail? and how is it that you've been able to thrive in such a really, 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 really tough industry?
Yeah.
I don't have personal experience there, but I have got family as well as friends who operate and work in retail, and they say, "Hey, this need up and place me."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So how I got into retail, crazy story. I've actually got a diploma in public relations.
Okay.
But I could never find a job in PR.
Okay.
Like, could never worked a day in PR.
Yeah.
And I then got introduced
That's so
to,
fascinating.
hey,
That's so fascinating.
that I've never worked in PR.
Yeah, you studied like the fascinating is that you study for something, but you've never worked a day in your life.
I felt like I was sold a dream. Honestly, I'm just so irritated. I'm 3 years of my life down the drain.
Yeah.
Because we were all told go into media and manage people and their personalities and their professions, and then you're just like, what? Okay.
It was all a dream.
Maybe it wasn't for me though.
Yeah.
But then I met a really amazing couple that owned a couple of businesses. The wife was a fashion designer and husband is in TV production.
Okay.
And that's pretty much how I got introduced to retail. I worked with the wife in her boutique, small boutique, once upon a time, a couple of years ago in Parktown, that wasn't really, I think, kind of reaping the rewards that she was looking for at that time.
Yeah.
And so it was a matter of, okay, what do we kind of do next to grow this business? Literally from conceptualization stage, sat down, threw a couple of ideas around, and we came up with 2 really cool concepts that we opened up in the duty free part of Tshiamo and Cape Town.
I was like, I think I remember duty free, and then it's just like, you know, you pass like the international terminals, and then you have this duty free store that is costs exorbitant amounts of money for perfume and stuff. That's a gross generalization.
So we did that, and I was there for about 6 years. But actually, let me take it back. Before I actually started, getting involved in that retail part of this lady's business, I was an au pair for her. Studied for 3 years, couldn't find a job, and I was an au pair.
Okay.
I think for about a year or so I did that, and then moved. I got introduced, I think, into the wider spectrum of their lives and the businesses that they were running. So I did that for about 6 years.
Yeah.
And built 5 stores, and that was my first bite of the retail industry, where I was involved in retail from the back end. From the stage of building a store, something I never ever even thought of. We walk into stores all the time.
Yeah.
But I never, applied my mind and wondered who built the store, how did this happen, what was the thought process that went into all of that.
Yeah.
And what I said was the most fulfilling thing I think I've ever had to do, to take a picture and then see that, that render come to life, and the thought process that goes into why certain things are placed in certain places, certain colors are used, how does it affect the customer's experience and the manner in which they walk in and out of that space. 6 years later.
Something you didn't study for, right?
No. No. Remember how I spoke about that ability to just open up myself to learning something new? Literally, it was just that. Just sometimes stepping back, watching people do what they are good at, and then learning a few things from that.
Yeah.
And then had a baby. Little 4-year-old now.
Okay.
And I was home for a few months after I had a baby.
Yeah.
And I then started seeing this brand trending on social media.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, what is this? What is this, these sneakers that everyone is wearing? And did a bit of research.
Which year was this?
2019.
2019.
This is
okay.
Early April 2019. And so I did a little bit of research, and I was like, okay, Batu, and there were a few gaps that I picked up.
Yeah.
And I just really sent through my CV to the email that I found. I think it was about 2 email addresses that I found, the CEO's one being one of the email addresses. And I sent through my CV and I said, hey, this is who I am. Can we meet up and chat about how I think I can contribute to your business? And luckily, I got a response. went through for a interview, very conversational, and the business had about 2 stores at that time. And I still laugh about this with Theo when he, remember he said to me, which of the 2 stores do I want to manage, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh dude, I want to build you more stores.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I said, no, I want to build you more stores.
Yeah.
And I think everyone in that room was kind of taken aback to say, okay.
Build more stores.
And 3 years later, 30 stores down.
30 stores?
Yeah.
That's like...
Yeah. Extremely challenging. My child is 4 years now.
Yeah.
So at that time, he was about 2, I think.
Oh, yeah, so you had a kid in the terrible 2s.
Yes.
And then you got some new kid.
And then I got a new, oh my gosh, yeah.
How did you do that?
I think a whole lot of support, really.
Okay.
I moved closer to home,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of support from family. My husband was extremely supportive as well. And yeah, I just really would not have been able to do it if I didn't, have the support that I had. And obviously the amazing team. And I think most of all, being led quite well. I think if you're in a space that isn't a great environment, that just doesn't allow you to, first of all, explore, share ideas, I think one can get quite frustrated and unhappy in that space. And so I was lucky that it was a good time. It was meant to be, and yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Jeez. Okay, so let's rewind
Okay.
to 2019 to 2020. So the first time I heard of the brand Batu was 2000 and so sometime 2007, 2018.
Okay.
And I had a thought that I wish I would have acted on, because I do speaking and speak to kids, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I just every time I give talks, these are the shoes that I wear,
Wow.
I had the thought, but I didn't execute on it. I don't know why, but I do it now. So then 2019 hits, and then we face the best year of our lives, 2020. The best year of our lives, wonderful. The 21-day dream that turned into 6,000 days. So, and then throughout that entire time, I was like following the journey, and then I was like, okay, he's opening up a store, right? And then another one, and then another one. Like, this guy's the DJ Khaled of stores. Another one, and then another one, and then I read it somewhere that his business was going like something like 300%. During a pandemic. I'm like, I never. So then, now that you were there, take us from that journey, like 2019, 2020, through a pandemic. You were able to build more brick and mortar stores. Lockdown, people can't go anywhere, people can't travel. Hugging was legal during level 5. So how did you manage all that? Especially in that time, that's what I'm really interested in, because that takes a certain level of skill and I'm not gonna say luck, but a skill, hard work, maybe a bit of like, I don't know. I just want to hear your perspective.
Or in yoga. We have an amazing team at Batu. Batu has a great team. We have, and as much as it's a, or I think at that time it was referred to as a startup. We were very, I think, vulnerable to some of our shortfalls. Yeah. So you remember Batu was a business that was really started off someone's passion, and I think in that process and how quickly the brand grew, it was almost a matter of bringing people in as quickly as possible. Yeah. And so skills, were a little bit of a challenge, but I think what really brought us together was passion. Okay. I think the passion and the love for that brand really rallied everybody up. And so how we got through the pandemic was through a whole lot of passion, but very, very a lot of passion, but a lot of frustration, a lot of tears, a lot of time away from home, fatigue. Yeah. I promise you, by the end of 2020, everyone was we were done.
Finished.
Yeah, it was finished.
At the end of 2020.
At the end of 2020, yeah. Luckily, I think when the country went into, it was level 4 at the time when things started slowly opening up around about May 2020. We were lucky that the brand was never affected by the pandemic, and I think people came out even stronger. So the minute stores opened up, as much as we then, at that time we had already decided that we're going to continue with the rollout plan that we had to open stores, and we were like, we're not going to stop, we're going to keep going. We were very, very blessed, I think, to have built a brand that was so loved and that was supported by so many people, that people came through and they supported Batu. Yes, me too. You were there at a couple, and at a couple of our store openings. It was really amazing to see how people, left their homes to come and really support. And it took a lot of collaboration as well with landlords. I mean, the landlords at that time, they themselves were going through such a difficult time with tenants asking for rental reliefs, and so it took a lot of collaboration with landlords. And again, Batu is a loved brand, throughout the country and probably throughout the SADC area. We were supported really, really well by some of our landlords. So it made the job a little bit easier, I think, to be able to literally travel across 9 provinces in a space in less than 6 months. And I think we opened 24 stores within that 5 or 6 months.
24 stores. Yes, like how are you not dead? Like how did you make it out? Because that's like okay, so if you open up 24 stores in a space of what, 6 months?
Yeah.
It's like 3 stores a month,
Yes.
Yeah.
I was in a different province every week. So I would come home to literally just pack a new bag and then I'm on the road.
Yeah.
How am I not dead? Passion. I love what I do.
Okay.
I'm obsessed about what I do. I'm obsessed about being in a space where I can actually determine how somebody feels and experiences a brand by literally just walking through a mall and stopping and thinking, what is that? And thinking about really some of the most interesting ways you can pull people into a store, and what's the journey that they walk through, or that they walk when they walk through the store. I'm in love with that. I'm really, really in love with that. And I think most of all because retail is still a bit of a male-dominated industry. It's always I think fulfilling to walk into a room and have people think, oh my god, it was a woman that we've been talking to. What? So I'm really passionate about that, and I'm passionate about I think proving and showing that retail is it's a career. Like you said, it's such a difficult industry. I think in many aspects, but I think most of all it's difficult in the sense that people don't see retail as a sustainable career.
Yeah, why don't people see retail as a sustainable career, except other than the fact that like you're always working hard? Some people say I'm not too well versed on this as well. I'm having this conversation. Margins can be low. So why do people not see it as a sustainable career?
I think it's a lack of information. I mean, even when I matriculated and went into varsity, it was never a point where somebody said to me I could actually study retail. And so I think it's a huge lack of information. And people then go into retail to work on the sales floor, to get by, to pay for fees, to survive. And no one really shares information or has an understanding of what happens outside the store, what happens beyond the products getting there and people selling. I really just think it's a lack of information. And I mean, I never studied retail either. I learned all of these things just on a daily basis. I did do a short course eventually through UCT, but that was really because there was some point I thought to myself, okay, I don't know what is going on here. Yes, I've got to learn. I remember the first question that was thrown at me was footfall. What the footfall in the stores. I'm just like, what is what? Like, what is the foot count? Okay, what is that? And I knew I had to just familiarize myself with
Is that the foot traffic on the people?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So information. People are not informed about I think the many aspects that are involved within retail. It was only in the last 3 years that I got a good understanding of what a leasing agent is.
What is a leasing agent?
So it's the person that assists the tenant
Yeah.
or the brand to get into spaces,
Okay.
like a mall.
Yeah.
But there's a lease to be, that needs to be signed. And as opposed to dealing directly with the landlord or the owners of that mall, you would go through a leasing agent. Sometimes it's the general manager of the mall. Sometimes it's the person that actually works for the company that built that particular mall. But it's the go-between person.
It's a go-between person. So you guys don't actually own the actual physical space. You rather just lease the actual space.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking how they bought all these things.
No. It's just it's all leases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say there's a lot of people now who've matriculated, they're going to varsity. Some people are finishing varsity, going into the workplace. What if they are looking at the work that you've done in retail? They're like, I want to be the next retail superpowerhouse. If that makes sense. Retail superpowerhouse. That's my word now. Retail superpowerhouse. What advice would you give someone who is going into varsity and then the next person who's leaving varsity is saying, I've thought about retail, but I don't think I can make a lot of money in it. It seems super hard. It may be saturated, oligopolistic, whatever myths it is they may have. What advice would you share, knowing what you know now? Yeah.
I think it would definitely be just reading up on it, on retail. I see now there's a lot of courses out around retail management. And I think my first piece of advice would definitely be for somebody to go and actually, do some studying and reading up on retail management. If you are, if you've actually maybe gone through that course and you're ready to get into the workspace, I would also really strongly suggest that one starts on the sales floor. I think if you don't understand what is going on the sales floor and how to interact with the customer that you'd be serving from the back end, whether you're building stores, whether you're part of the marketing team, whether you're part of distribution, and that kind of stuff. I think definitely familiarize yourself with what happens on the sales floor. Because so much conflict, and I see it in the office a lot, so much conflict happens where people sitting in the warehouse or the head office don't really understand the dynamics of what's going on the floor, and so it's difficult to try and give the sales team everything that they need in order to serve the customer, because you have very, very few or little understanding of what's going on the sales floor. I think that's my second piece of advice. Third piece of advice, I really think people need to start opening up to serving and working with or for local startups. I think there's such a huge opportunity in being involved.
How are we gonna make money now? Startups, how are we gonna make money? that's an honest question.
It is an honest question. So it does require a lot of patience.
Yeah.
I won't lie. Working for a startup requires a lot of patience.
Yeah.
But you also need to understand what the vision is. So if you're going in there with, I think, your first mission to make money, it's not going to work out.
It's going to fail. Okay.
So understand what the vision is, and I think you have to fall in love with that vision, because you have to then kind of fulfill your duties, like you're running your own business, or like you're building your own business. And there's so much opportunity in startups because you essentially get involved in so many things beyond whatever your roles are at that time. Because the biggest mission at that time is to make sure that this business grows and it's sustainable. So I really think I would advise students to start, I think, looking at startups. This for me, and I've never worked in a corporate.
Never worked in a corporate.
I've never ever worked in a big corporate. I've always worked for startups.
Now.
Yes, because we've built.
Okay.
Because we've built. But I've never been in. I love these sound effects.
They're amazing.
I really love them. But I think the experience that I have from startups is invaluable. It really, really is. I think even if at some point I, have the opportunity of working for a bigger retailer, which I don't know, but let's say it happens. I'm gonna go in there, I think, with a lot of the ability to open myself up to learning, opening myself up to, I think, working, I think, the really crazy hours, because I've learned to build something from the ground up.
And there's a sense of pride and achievement to say, I did that.
Yes.
No, not that I did that. I had a hand in doing
that.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's amazing. So, what was the hardest thing about wanting to build 24 stores in that amount of time? And where did you get the audacity, the temerity, the gall for you to go and think you're going to build 24 stores and succeed? That's amazing. How did you do that?
The most difficult thing, I think, was spending time away from my family. That was very, very difficult. I remember just being in hotel rooms and crying because I miss my family.
Did you cry in professional mourner?
I cried in the shower, so it just felt like I'm just taking a shower.
You slid into the shower.
So yeah, I think that was really tough.
Okay, seriously, so you spent a lot of time crying because of being away from the thing that you love so much. Should have taken a toll on you.
And where did I get the audacity?
Greedy to think that you're going to build 24 stores in a pandemic and you succeeded. That's amazing. I
think I've always known that, especially when I figured what I can do within the retail industry. I knew I was going to be the first woman to, I think, really
make that market.
I knew I was going to be the first woman and the first South African woman, I think, to really, I think, do something really incredible to contribute to the retail industry. And so I think with every store that I've built, I've built it with the intention to say, this thing has my name on it. And so I can't fail myself. And I think most importantly, I can't fail the business that I've said, that I think first of all gave me the opportunity. Because remember, I went in there and no one really knew what the heck I wanted to do. And so I knew I couldn't fail that business, but I couldn't fail myself either. And I really couldn't fail the commitment I had made to myself to proving that retail is a sustainable career, because there was a time I thought, let me start using the hashtag retail is a career. And I got a lot of questions of people asking me, oh really, how can I start a career in retail? So I think that's where the audacity came from.
Retail is a career. That's crazy. I'm still like 24 stores. So like, how did you come up with a number? Well, like, cause I imagine project management, you've got your start date, these are those stores that we want to open them, this is where we want to open them. How did you go? What was the decision making process for you to get to that number and to the locations, and then I'll get to the most interesting part of those stores, the design of the stores. It was very amazing.
So funny story, the number, I don't know if I can speak about the CEO.
Go ahead.
He's crazy.
So
we would start with a small number.
It's really
we would start with a small number in a very respectful way. We'll start with a small number to say, okay, we're going to build 7 stores. And then we would kill 7 stores so quickly at that number, or we would approach that, that target of 7. And he would throw in like another, I think we're going to do another 7. And I'm like, excuse me, what?
What?
Yeah.
What?
Just like,
another 7.
What?
She's like,
and we still talk about it this day. Now I'm the one that's saying, no ways. Are you kidding me? 10 stores? No. No. And he will remind me to say, do you remember how scared you used to be of just going big? But I think also the number wasn't also it just didn't drop out of nowhere. It was very informative. So we're the kind of brand that pays a lot of attention to our customers, where they want us, And one of the things that we did very well last year was to open up stores in, I think, some of the places that people just don't reach. I mean, there were 2 places in particular last year we went to called Burgersfort.
Burgersfort.
I had never ever heard of Burgersfort, and it's like a 5-hour drive.
Yeah.
And the other one was called Acornhook.
Acornhook. Jeez, where's that?
Somewhere in Mpumalanga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd never ever heard of those 2 places.
Yeah.
But because we're a brand that pays so much attention to our consumers,
Yeah.
and our consumers are very expressive. And we also paid a lot of attention to our e-commerce. That obviously grew very well after or during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so we really noticed and paid attention to where a lot of our deliveries are going to. And the notion was just, look, if we're sending so many shoes through the online platform, these are definitely customers that will want to come into the store to experience the brand. And yeah, that's basically how the numbers came up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was very happy that you guys opened up a store in Benoni. No, it's not even Benoni's box, but you guys still not even in Benoni. You should open up in Lakeside.
We'll get
Yeah, for the Tshiamo, I'm like, Tshiamo, wow. Yeah, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing for me. Because now I drive past, I'm like, okay, I have to go start.
Good thing.
Okay, so which was the most exciting store opening out of the 55 minutes yet?
Yes. Okay, so I think most exciting was Springs, but most challenging, if I can throw in that question, was Canal Walk in Cape Town.
Canal Walk in Cape Town. Wow, that's interesting.
It's a big, beautiful mall, and so the expectations and the rules around how tenants build their stores,
it's like high,
was I think the most stressful thing.
Did you guys get an award?
We got an award for Springs.
Oh, for Springs.
Yes. Oh, at Canal Walk, actually. Yes.
Because I remember seeing your stories that you guys were you in Canal Walk. I saw something about.
Yes, I was in Canal Walk, and we received Retail of the Year last year in Canal Walk.
Wow.
Yeah.
There we go. Wow.
Yeah, so we received Retail of the Year.
Yeah.
Which I think was very, very fulfilling. Sure, that was amazing. None of us expected that. No one expected in the business because how challenging that building that store was. I remember we ran late, but I think about 2 weeks to open the store. And they made us break tiles at some point and reinstall because
break tiles.
Yes, yeah, because they were just not up to their standard.
What standards are these?
Yes, I'm telling you, that place is very meticulous when it comes to detail. And then Springs was, I think, definitely my favorite. It was a beautiful store, and with that store we won the best retail design of the year. So that was amazing.
That's when you put some was there.
Yes, I mean, Tumi's been to a couple of our stores, but that one in particular it's a beautiful store.
No, I remember because that's what I bought.
Yes, you were there. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I hear sounds good. When I saw me, his name,
No, yeah, that store is it's stunning. It's stunning.
That store opening was crazy.
Yes.
It was crazy. Yeah. It was packed. Hey, trying to get it. Listen, as a consumer, what I wanted to do was buy shoes, say hi to Sumizi, say hi to Dio, say hi to you, and then leave.
Yeah.
I couldn't just do that. So I'm waiting out there by the door, and it's packed. There are like bodyguards, like security, and I'm like, okay, so why are we all here? I was like, no, you guys can buy shoes. Yeah, but we're here for some reason. I'm like, what's going on? This guy, he walks in like a rock star. He struts in like a rock star. So this doesn't just walk. He struts. Yeah, he's a keeper, that guy. He struts in like a rock star. Everyone starts crying. People on the windows. I'm like, nah, I just want to go buy my shoes, say hi to the people, and then go home to go watch Justice League. That's what I want to go do. So then I'm like, if anyone who's buying shoes, can you come in? I'm like, yeah, just me. And I look back, I'm like, how? Is it just me who wants to buy stores? I'm like, wow, so you guys got that star power.
Yeah, we're an experiential brand. We're really, really experiential. And even though
I can't even partner up with some guy.
How did we?
Yeah.
Honestly, I built and managed the stores. That's a different parts of the business. That's
Yeah.
our marketing team.
Yeah.
But I think if top of mind, how the collab happened with Somizi was when Theo started the business.
Yeah.
Somizi was one of the first celebrities that really vetted him. Took a pair of shoes, and I remember the story around that was he said he's not going to post the shoes unless he likes them and they're comfortable.
Okay.
And so he put the shoes on, loved them, and that's how that relationship happened with Somizi and Batu. I think it was inevitable that eventually Batu would do something with Somizi.
Yeah. I actually thought there was. I'm like, are these Somizi shoes? Back then when you wore them, like I think he posted them somewhere. Like, are these Somizi shoes?
In fact, before the actual Somizi range. Yes. Yeah. So that's really how the collaboration happened with Somizi.
Yeah, that's beyond crazy. So now I want to get into something that I want to talk about how you guys actually design the stores, because I've seen a lot of stores in my life, but then yours is different. Like it's funky, it's hip, it shows me exactly what I want to see, which is pretty much all the shoes. Actually, I blame you guys for my what's this? Sneaker addiction. Actually, it's a sneaker addiction. Yeah, you and Drip. You and Drip. I'm gonna start there. We'll get into that as well. Like honestly, because I was like, okay, I need to, because I was never really focused on casual shoes. I just used to buy. Okay, I'll go to that shoe city, give myself my cheese. I was like, let me just funk it up. But I didn't want to go and buy Air Jordans. Hey, I love Air Jordans. I love Air Jordans. Keep my options open. So Jordans come to the show. But I wanted to support local brands because I was like, okay, like the overseas brands, they've got enough of a strong hold of us. Enough people buy Jordans here in the country. Enough people buy Nikes and Adidas and Puma. So I was like, what is a brand that I can be proud of? Because I'm on this drive from head to toe. I want to be dressed in purely South African brands. Next is Tshiamo jeans.
Nice.
I need to put up a savings for his stuff because
it's me and my closet. I'm trying to say.
Not to my closet. Hey, that guy as well. He's doing fantastic stuff. I'm like, guys, really, but for you, I won't pay my rent this month.
Honestly.
So then I was like, okay, let me start with Bud. So I went to the Newtown store.
Okay.
When was it 2019 or 2020? The Newtown store. So I'm like, okay, went with a friend of mine, Bonnie. She says hi, by the way. She's a colleague of mine. You don't know her, but she still says hi. I'll tag her in the photo we take. I'm like, yeah, she's hi. So we went there to go and buy the stores, the shoes. I didn't know how much they cost or how all of them looked at it. I did some research on okay. I walk in and then I see, was it the Moja X? Yeah, the Moja X, the black one. So I'm like,
clean one.
Yeah, the clean one. It's just clean. No fancy patterns. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. How much? I looked at the price. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna buy all of these. So I went and I bought them. And then I was like, okay, for my wife, I'm gonna buy some more for my wife. I came back the next month, bought some more, and then the next month bought some more. Then I bought some of these gold ones. I bought the ones in spring, and then one in Benoni. Tshiamo. That's Boxburg. Two distant places where I got these red ones, and then for my traditional wedding, we got married in buttons. Yes. So can I please get my loyalty card?
No, honestly, I think you deserve it. You really do.
I said all of that just to get to that. So the first time I went to the store, I'm like, well, this is a very clean store. It's very orderly. Like, okay, that's where the Moja X is. That's where the mesh is. That's where the Swerve is. Suede edition is, and then it was like packed. And like, guys, I don't want to. What is going on here? It's like there's just the budget store with like lines going around, and then everywhere else like I'm like, oh, there are no other stores in this. Just can't get here. And then I went in. Customer service is great. And then I just looked at this. Oh yeah, you guys deserve that. Customer service is great. You guys
love it.
You guys are that great. So I was like, this is a well-designed store. So now my question is, how did you guys get to the point of what's the process of designing the store, and what's the psychology behind it, and how do you guys channel the foot traffic, and where do you guys say, well, this is where you guys can sit and try the shoes, and where you guys put them, that whole thing. I'm just really interested in that.
So one of the things that I really, I think, wanted to strive in achieving as we design the stores was to, I think, reimagine how our people shop, and shop for local brands in particular. I think we've been in a lot of big retailers, and I mean the setup is quite general, you know. So I think what the larger retailers do very well is visual merchandising, because I think the budgets are much bigger, and so there's so much you can do. The budgets are bigger, the stores are bigger, and so there's a lot that you can do in terms of changing up what the store looks and feels like as often as possible. So with, I think, the minimal space that we have, we're very intentional in how we, I think, create a space that has enough room for people to walk around in, because our stores get full, right? So how do people move around while they're in the store, and have a clear, I think, visibility of where everything is? So in the larger stores, it's easy to create departments. In our stores that are a little bit smaller, you really have just the outer walls to use, because you can't do much in the center of the store, because the store gets full. You don't want people knocking things down. You want them, the ability to kind of move around. So I think that's one of the things that I really I'm intentional about. The second thing is reimagining and relooking what a local brand should look like in a mall, right? So a lot of the times we've seen local brands, they are there, but they're either in a kiosk or they're in a pop-up. And pop-up, it could be a walk-in store, but very few shop fittings, because of low budget, or access to the ability to invest in that space. And what I knew I wanted to do was to create stores that are so beautiful, through using striking colors, because we're a bright, colorful brand. And so I wanted our stores to really speak to that. So if we're, next door, another big brand, man, you need to stop and say, there's no way I'm going into this big brand. I'm going into that store because that looks amazing. So even from, I think, just the innovation, we were one of the first, sneaker stores that had levitating stands where our sneakers looked like they were kind of floating and spinning in the air. So
they're spinning,
so innovation was very big for me. Lighting was a huge thing for me. I want somebody walking down, I want somebody walking, down whatever corridor in the mall, and you can't miss our store, because it's bright, it's colorful, and it looks like it's a fun space to be in. It requires, I think, a lot of research in, I've just chosen to kind of allow myself and look at what stores look like overseas, because I wanted to feel like, an international brand on an international scale, and I mean, our mission is to be a brand that people can affiliate with across the world, and I really wanted that our stores to feel like, a store that you could take, lift it and put it anywhere in the world, and it would just be an amazing space to be in.
That's great. And then we also have the customization labs, right? I've yet to try those. That's one thing that's on my bucket list. To the customization labs. Was that also a brainchild of yours, or was that before or after your?
No, so it wasn't a brainchild of mine. That actually was an idea by our head of marketing, Mashudu Ndobu. So she came in 2020, and she was just like, guys, how do we expand on creating an experiential space? So yes, the stores look amazing, but what do people actually get to do while they are in our stores, and that's how customization started. And sure, the demand was amazing, and so we decided to then do the customization labs, to say, we've got 2 customization labs that are adjacent to the store. So we've got one in Pretoria and one in Newtown. So you come into the Batu store, you buy, you get into the customization lab, and you are able to put a personal touch on your shoes. Some of our stores, like Savannah Mall, Canal Walk, Hemingway's in East London, they've got smaller customization labs within the stores, because those stores are much, much bigger. So it was just a matter of saying, we give people more to do in our stores as opposed to just buying sneakers.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a Batman logo on the bike.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should see some of the stuff those artists do.
What do they
Really
do?
amazing.
Yeah.
No, they do some of the really, really coolest things. I think my favorite, there was one they did of, I think it was Cleopatra, that that was stunning, on the gold Sumizi.
On the gold
Yeah,
Sumizi.
that was a really, really amazing.
Okay, so I've got the gold Sumizis.
Yes.
I'm not gonna put Cleopatra.
It really looks amazing.
And so I just wonder what I could put on those. Well, I'm gonna customize those. I think I'll think of something.
Yeah.
I'll think of the Batman part. Then the other question that I want to get into is around the issues of color, right? Because you're a black female and you're a fantastic, striking example of what this country really, 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 really needs. Really needs. I thought it was a lie until I started working. I started operating a business where black females are underrepresented in occupations and spaces of influence and power. So I can imagine that was a challenging dimension to your tenure, as in terms of like growing and rising to being a retail power, because you did say that the retail space is white male dominated. So how did you overcome that? I know you've got the passion, you've got the good friends, but then the good support structure and a good team. So how did you experience any hardships because you're black and female? How did you overcome that?
I don't think, I can't really say I experienced any hardships, but I think I always had to be very assertive in a conversation right from the beginning. And one of the things I think our CEO really always speaks about is that you need to be clear who the client is. So yes, we may be a startup, but you need to walk into that room and you need to let them know that you need us, your mall needs us, and make it clear and be assertive as to who we are. And remember, I spoke about getting an understanding of the vision of the business, and make it your own that vision, so that you can walk into a room and speak assertively, speak clearly about this is who we are, this is what we can do for you, just give us the chance and we will prove it. And so as time went on in building, I think, beautiful stores and landlords seeing the success of the stores, it got quite easier, I mean, I think I'm even trying a little bit better in my negotiation skills now with rental rates. I think I'm doing much better. But it was really just, I think, being assertive right from the beginning. Don't walk in and doubt yourself, because it is white, male dominated, and these are people that have been in the industry for years. And even the people that you engage with, you'll very, very few times do I engage with somebody that is within my age group. I'm talking about people that have been in there 30 years plus. And so you're starting a conversation immediately with, this is the way we've been doing things. So you're not going to come here.
You have to change the way they see
Yes, I mean, have you ever heard of any store being opened in a mall and there's like this huge activation that happens? No, usually stores open up quietly, and like just the trade goes on, and it's really then the marketing activities that happen in the background quietly. So it was all
you guys did it differently.
We did it differently because we were assertive from the beginning,
It's like,
say,
we will have DJs there,
yes,
and we will have our superstars of music there.
Correct.
Deal with it. We're gonna have balloons. We're gonna have everything there.
Yeah, definitely. And I still laugh now because one of the biggest I think pushbacks we get, I spoke about lighting. And we get a lot of pushback to say there are too many lights in your store.
Too many lights.
Why
are they complaining? You're the guys who are the ones paying the least.
Look, I mean, the stores and the malls rather are really trying to go with more environmentally sustainable, I think, solutions where lighting and electricity.
I'm sure you can get environmentally friendly lighting.
So we use that, So we're very now cautious about the type of globes and the lighting that we use. But it's still a matter of just let us put in the lights. If you feel it doesn't work, we will find a way to sort it out. But again, it just goes back to the point of be assertive, be confident, because you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's one thing that I'm gauging from you is that you don't have the victim mentality, you owe it to me mentality, or you're just being hard on me because I'm a black female. How dare you?
No,
you don't have that.
No.
So okay, so that's a mindset that is commendable. It's fantastic. However, in my experience, and I'm open to be wrong about this, it is too common. It is way too common to say, or some people will say, you're right, you need to listen to me, not because of what I have to bring to the table, but because of the stuff that I've been through, right? So then with you flipping, you'll say, confident, knowledgeable, I know what I'm talking about, and I have an end goal, and I'm certain in what I'm here to do. So how did you arrive at that mindset? Because I think it's a mindset that's too uncommon, if that makes any sense.
So, I mean, can you imagine if after I graduated and I couldn't find a job, and I didn't have it in me to even allow myself to start at being an au pair. Like, guys, I was driving kids around. I was picking them up from school and taking them to their extramurals after 12 years of schooling, and then another 3 years in varsity, and then I'm au pair. I'm an au pair. So, I mean, can you imagine if I said, what?
My life is a lie.
Exactly. Can you imagine? I wonder where I'd be right now. But I think being vulnerable to whatever the situation is that I'm going through at that time, and then finding a way to get out of that situation, I think is really one thing that really helped me, something that helped me quite a bit, to say, okay, this is what it is. What do I do with this thing that I have in front of me? And make that work. Otherwise, just the victim mentality, and I don't judge anyone that I think allows themselves to kind of fall into that. But I really try very hard to keep away from that, because I think it'll waste my time, and I will look back a year later and think, Jesus, that I just got up and
done
moved.
Something. That's the first response I've had to a question like that. It's going to be a waste of my time.
No, honestly.
I've got better things to do than just
I've got so much to do.
And complain and go on. So, what is some of the things that are bothering you in the retail industry, in the retail space where you find yourself, especially in the context of South Africa, because that's where we operate? And what are the things that you're seeing? I'm like, no, man, this thing has to change. Let me tell you,
I'm actually very scared to talk about this. I think what bothers me. I hope people are not gonna be mad at me about this.
Fetch you.
I think what really bothers me is the lack of respect for your career and your job. So so a store gets built, interviews happen, you apply, you come for the interview. You're clearly saying I want this job, right? It goes well, and then you work, and then at some point you feel like it's okay to steal.
Oh, to steal?
It drives me mad.
Yes, like you subverted my expectations.
Really?
I thought you were going to say it's okay for you to be lazy and not do your job, which is a form of stealing.
That's exactly what it is. It drives me so mad.
Are you talking about like physical stealing, like I'm stealing like stock?
Yes.
Or are you talking about both, where I'm just not going to pitch it work at?
So there's that too. So and I think this is really common within the retail industry, where festive season comes and people disappear. Like, okay. You know, like, okay.
Ooh, where did they
Come
go?
on. Did you not understand the industry that you work in, you know? So there's that to say that it's okay for me to just disappear.
Disappear
Because
and say nothing.
And say nothing, or come back with a sick note.
And not forewarn people that you're going to be sick, and then make a plan, or maybe
or even just communicate to say, hey, I'm sick. You know, like it really does matter. So I think a lack of respect for your job and your career. Is just, again, I think, but it still goes back to that thing of it's just retail. I mean, I just work in retail, and so there's so many things that are out there that are bigger and better. But even if if you're in retail and it's just a stage that you're passing through, kill it, man. Jesus, do it so well that it's something that you will continue to speak very proudly of further in your life. Yes, just don't go there and think because my area manager, my regional, whoever is not here watching me, and so I feel like I can do what I
No, guys,
stop it, man, stop. And it breaks my heart. Actually, it really does break my heart because we see it too often. We have to let go of people because really, now you're out of a job because of 900 rand.
900.
No.
What can you get with 900 rand?
Like,
I can't even get the next Sky edition.
Like, I'm just like, please respect. And I always say to my team that it may be a stage that you're passing through, but this is your career. This essentially is your career. It will form part of your CV, and it stays with you forever. So this is your career. Respect it.
So people don't really respect their careers.
Not all the time.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah, especially as for someone like as passionate as you are about your work, and you know the price that you paid to be where you are, and to give people an opportunity, and then like, nah.
No, you're not watching. And I'm always like, but
somebody's always watching.
Have you looked up at the ceiling?
Up a CCTV.
Do you think they're not working? Why do you think they're not working?
I swear, but
they're
there.
They're there.
Yeah. So that's okay. So in response to that, I think I have the same frustration. It's a major frustration. This frustration started with myself. I was frustrated with myself. So if you just look there, the book at the bottom. Yes, that one. That's the one that you can take home. Theo will come get his when he's here. So so my thought process behind every time I write a book, I'm basically solving a problem that I have for myself, and I know other people also have. Because when I started working consulting and project management, I worked hard, but there were times where I had this mindset. I'm like, no, man, it's owed to me. Like, this is owed to me. I can slack sometimes. I can not bitch at work sometimes. I'm not talking about not physically be there, but like mentally check out, because that happens as well. And then I also was thinking about the clients that we were serving. Because I don't believe that you're an employee. Everyone is your client that you interact with. That's the premise of this. But you are the business yourself, and then we'll get into that because you built your own brand there. This is retail superpowerhouse. So then we did some strategic consulting work for this major petroleum distributor, and we had to do some strategic analysis on what technology that they can use and how they can improve their business and bring in more clients and stay up to date. So we spent 6 weeks, and they spent like hundreds of thousands of rands of consulting fees. I'm like, geez, okay. So we came up with a beautiful PowerPoint presentation, and then we presented to the MD and the board and said, if you put this technology in, your business operation will increase by X%. You put this marketing strategy in, you'll reach your goal by X%. They all clapped, and I was like, wonderful, bravo. I should have been, this was like within my first 6 months of working, I should have been happy, but I was sad. Why was I sad? We had spent all this time doing all this research, telling them to use all these business principles. The catch is, we were not using certain principles for ourselves. I was looking at the colleague I was working with, he was a senior of mine. I was was looking at myself, and I was like, hey, but I'm not budget, but you're telling people that you don't have a clear plan, but you're telling people this. And then I was like, okay, one of these things is not like the other. And I felt like I'd robbed someone, because of the MD had known, like you look at my personal life and see that there's no order in what we were presenting. The same as we were presenting, I thought something was going to be wrong. And then came bonus and salary increase time. Oh my goodness. I'm like, oh yes, yes. Oh, my favorite, yes. But the bonus I got, I'm like, I can't buy a bunch of shoes with this. I was like, fine. And then I got passed up for promotion, and I lost my mind. I had the entitlement mentality, the mentality. And then I complained to my dad, I complained to my brother, and then they both said, I'm like, listen, there's something other people are doing that you're not doing. And then I heard a tape saying that the people who are the most successful and most driven, and I can see it in your example, is that they treat themselves as their own business. They are the brand that they present to other people. They don't care where the source of income is coming from, whether it's salaried income or side hustle income or commissions or investment. They see themselves as their own brand. So that's when I endeavored to like, okay, I'm going to start writing this. And then when I started testing it, everything else is fine, the mechanics are fine, finding a customer, unique selling proposition, all that stuff is beautiful, but the mindset that you are dealing with is the entitlement mindset, and you're thinking about serving yourself and not the customer. So if people who are jeopardizing their career for not even Sky Edition shoes, they don't have the mindset to like, listen, if I am with a Fortune 500 company deal like operate like this, because if they don't show up at work, like if Apple just like all of a sudden stops selling for one day, what do you think's gonna happen? The same thing with Amazon, same thing with Watches. So so for me, everybody should really see themselves as their own brand, as their own business. And then when I speak to the high school kids and university kids and colleagues, it's the same mentality that needs to be overcome, that needs to be fought. And I find it, unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't know. It's data. So that's the mindset that I feel passionate about that because I was there. I'm not gonna say I wasn't there.
But I mean, it's been generations of go to school and then go and work for a great company. And I don't even think our generation has cracked that yet. We are. Yeah, I don't
just
think
want free food and bean bags.
And then you go to school and you work for a company or a certain company, and you then feel very entitled, and part of why I'm saying it frustrates when people don't respect their careers is that so you're going to leave that place, right? And when you leave, that place will remain standing. Things move, things continue, like the place keeps growing.
100%.
But what have you learned? How have you contributed to your own personal growth? And so if you treat this 9 to 5 just as a 9 to 5 because I need to earn a certain amount of money at the end of the month, and not open yourself up to creating opportunities, because and I hear this in a lot of interviews. Why are you leaving this place? Oh, there were no opportunities. Okay.
Okay.
And the first question is, okay, what did you do where they kind of got you to the place where you felt like there are no opportunities? What did you try? Did you have a conversation with somebody? Did you suggest something new? How did you try to build yourself as opposed to waiting for some succession plan for you? What did you do to kind of build yourself? But it's going to take time, and it's unfortunate that I think we're still a little bit far. But I think continuously talking about or having these kind of conversations and engaging in these kind of conversations to say you are a brand of your own, and you're just going to go through a couple of stops, but those stops have to contribute to how you build yourself as a business or a brand. We've got a lot of work to do.
Like our former president, or the president before 2017, that guy. There was the song he used to sing. My mother and I really enjoyed the song. My mother would say, "Oh, Yinde, Lendlela esihambayo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I think let's keep having the conversations. Let's about 2 days. There's a program that we used to have that the former head of human capital started, and she called it growth readiness.
Oh yeah. So you said human capital.
Yes.
Is that another word for
human resources? Yeah. So she preferred using the word human capital because she wanted to humanize the processes and not just throw
human capital.
Yeah. So she really wanted to humanize the processes. She wanted people to it must affiliate and resonate with these people to say this is not just a process or a rule that's here to catch you when you've done something wrong. How do we make this feel a part of who you are? And so she did these sessions with everyone that she called growth readiness, and it was another opportunity to engage and have these kind of conversations to say, what is your why are you here, how do you want to achieve, yes, and I think it's one of the starting points, I think, to say build yourself while you were in a particular place.
100%. So let's take that and put it in your context, because I know you as a retail superpowerhouse. I came up with the word literally just now because I don't see you as a head of retail, but that's not how I see it. I see you as that's a role that you play, but that's not the totality of your experience. You are a face of retail, and you are a face of retail. That's just how I see it. That's PR. You know what PR is? What people say when you're not in the room.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that.
So that's what I see. I'll just give you one of those.
Yes.
So I've seen you over the past 2 years sort of build your brand, and that's you've been giving talks and putting out articles and sort of like building that presence. When did you start seeing yourself as that retail business? In essence, that's what you see yourself as. Like, how did you start seeing yourself and continue to build?
2020. So the business really took like a 360 turn. From the small business that it was in 2019 where I started, more people started coming in, well-skilled people started coming in, and it now started getting very challenging, even from a conversational perspective, and so I knew I had to level up, because when I started, it's easy to walk into a place where you're still kind of holding each other's hands quite a lot, and then as the business grows, you need to bring in the right people in the right seats. So I needed to.
You need to level
up.
Of course.
And very challenging time also, because I remember even when the head of human capital then started, she came in and did a little bit of restructuring. And I remember it was a Saturday morning, and I read this email that she had sent where she was moving things around. And I called and I was like, listen, lady, so let me kind of school you with what is going on here. And the response that I got was basically to say, trust me, learn from me, and I promise you this is going to be beneficial for everyone. And so I had to then allow myself to accepting that change, and definitely learning from her. And it was in that process that I really started even figuring out a little bit of who I am. So I knew what I was good at, but I didn't really know who I am and how far I can kind of stretch myself and take, how far I can go with the capabilities and the skills that I have. And so during that process, I mean, we spoke about so many things. I mean, she taught me so many things about becoming and what is my why, and asking a lot of questions about how and why do I do certain things the way that I do them. Is it sustainable? And so that's when I really started figuring out what I'm capable of, and saying, okay, I'm here. I know I won't be here forever. So what do I do, or how do I build myself so that in the next couple of years, should this journey come to an end, I don't walk out of that place empty. You know, I've built a brand for myself, and I think that's really when I started opening myself up to doing things that built a name for me, and what I can do, I think, to build and create and develop. And it was even through that process that I figured, oh snap, I'm a developer. I create things. You know, I bring things to life. So yeah, I think that's really where how it came about.
And you've obviously getting a lot of support from your colleagues as well.
Definitely, absolutely. A lot of support from my colleagues, but you know, even with the support from my colleagues, a lot of the stuff that I did was not really, I think, it wasn't part of my day-to-day duties. The webinars that I would get involved in, the whatever conferences I might be attending, it was really me saying, hey, okay, what is this? What can I learn from this? Let me open myself up to attending this. Let me log into this webinar. Let me learn a few things. And it's a ripple effect. You know, the minute people speak about the universe, if you apply your mind and you open yourself up to certain things, then everything else just kind of follows that goes in that direction. Yeah.
That's amazing. So like, where do you see the brand, like the brand, or not, I'm talking about you personally as the brand, not yourself physically. Where do you see that going? And let's take a short term view, like 1 to 3 years.
1 to 3 years. So this year I was you know, honored as the first South African woman to be selected in a report called Top Women in Retail. So
yes,
this is,
I saw that.
So it's the 12th year. I love these sound effects. Thank you.
Yes, amazing.
So it's the 12th year that this report has been going out, and I'm the first South African woman, and that's
amazing.
Was amazing. It really, I think that's big for me. And so,
did you go have a glass of red wine afterwards?
So I've had a couple. But I'm actually supposed to leave for Miami in the end of April if I can get a visa. Jeez.
What's happening in Miami?
So in Miami, it's a report called Top Women in Retail, and it's issued by an organization called Women in Retail Leadership Circle.
Okay.
So end of September, there's a huge summit where top women in retail from across the world, I'm talking Reebok, Nike, everywhere. You can think about the biggest and coolest brands. These executive women will all be in one space. And I'm so excited to come back home and see the kind of person that I will be after I've been exposed to the knowledge and the people that I would have, you know, that I will be interacting with at that time. So I think to answer your question, to say, where do I kind of see myself in the next couple of years as brand Tsiamo? People have always said, why don't I open and start my own business? I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know. But I definitely am 100% sure, even though you've already said it, that I'm 100% sure that I think I will definitely be the face of retail and transformation, I think. Definitely transformation.
I see you as that right now.
Right, and that's scary that you're already there, and I'm like, I'm still on my way. So yeah, I think that's definitely.
Sometimes you have to fly before you can walk.
Yeah. So I think that's really where I see myself. I'm looking forward, I think, to contributing to other local brands and helping them build. And I think I'll be the girl or the woman that help localization. So there's this term in retail that's called localization, and it's a huge thing in the malls. And
so what is it? Because my frame of reference for localization is tech-based. Localization means that the website takes the language of the locale that you are in. If you are in Spain, the website will be in Spanish. French will be French. South Africa, English.
So in retail, what that basically means is that the spaces in the malls will definitely do the same. So the malls, are looking at creating areas where it's a strip of local brands.
Ah.
So this gives startups the opportunity to come in with great rental negotiations, and it's really a part of the mall. Like how Santon has the Diamond Walk. So it's something like that. That the malls are really looking at localization to say, how do we get the people in our communities to, or how do we speak the same language as them with South African consumers? And that's basically offering, I think, and opening up space for local brands to eventually build themselves.
The day that happens, I will have no money. I
know. I think Menlyn is starting something like that. That's one of the malls that I know. They really are preparing the space for local brands.
So I don't know why this happens in the world, generally speaking. I don't know if you're a football fan or not. You're not a sports fan. You're not a sports fan.
No.
Nothing about sports.
No.
Don't know. Okay, right. So in football, there's someone called Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm sure
I've heard the name. Yes.
You've heard of Lionel Messi.
Yes.
Okay, right. So there's a
we're getting somewhere now.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. You're not lost. You're not 100% lost. Instead of loving the greatness of these two players playing at the same time, because they've got a good head-to-head rivalry, there is this need that we always have to have one be the best over the other. And what can end up happening, I'm speaking for the football fraternity here, is that you may end up missing out on the greatness of the two instead of just saying, let's just see these people, let them coexist. I can be a fan of Messi, I can be a fan of Ronaldo. Same thing is happening in tennis. You think tennis? No? Don't know? Nothing? Okay, there's Rafa Nadal.
Yes, yeah.
That's my favorite tennis player. Hey, Rafa, I gotta get you on the show. Right. There's Novak Djokovic and there's Roger Federer. They call them the goats of tennis. There are some people who say, I love watching all three of them play at the same time. One will say, no, this one's better than that one. Djokovic is better than Federer is better than Nadal, Nadal's better than this person. And what ends up happening there is that you don't appreciate the greatness of everyone. And then especially when it comes to the sneaker brand, I know there's Drip, I know it's called Root of Fame. That there's also part of Root of Fame there. And then there's Batu. And then I'm like, yo, they're both South African brands, I'm buying both of them, right? Then over here, I heard debates of like, this brand is better than this brand, and this brand is better than this brand. I'm like, can't you just buy both? Can't you just enjoy both? So how is it that, have you faced that sort of forced competitiveness, and how did you deal with that? And what message can you give to people out there to say, listen, there's more than enough space and money for everyone?
So definitely in the beginning, when Drip started, it was, I think there's no point in trying to deny that it wasn't a shock to our system to say, geez, who are these people, because they came in and they came in hard, and we were, I think, as a brand, lucky that we had built quite a bit, not just from infrastructure, but from a structural perspective as well. So remember Batu, there was no blueprint. Everything we kind of figured out as we went along. So luckily by the time Drip came through, we had built quite a bit, But what we then realized very, very quickly was how good we are for each other. So we serve the same customer. If you see somebody walk out of a Drip store, they are definitely going into a Batu store and the other way around. So how I think people can kind of people can just kind of coexist. I think it just takes research, because if you just take things personally, then you miss the important information, But if you pay attention and you just, I think, really do your research, you'll figure out that there is enough space for everyone. So I ask actually the landlords if we pick a store in a particular mall. I always ask, is Drip coming? Are they there yet? Because we serve the same customer, and it's essentially good for us as well. So it's a very good, healthy competition, and I think that's really it. Just, I think, pay attention as opposed to trying to be maliciously competitive,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then you just end up ruining everything, you know, even for your own business. Yeah.
Because I'm a fan of both.
Yeah.
Well, my budget has just used to be, you know, IT stuff. It used to be PlayStation games. It used to be food, a lot of it. And then now it's like sneakers. And I blame you too.
Look, I mean, but it's still a more experiential brand.
Our
spaces are amazing.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
No, they are. I kid you not, they are. I just, especially the one in Springs, as you said, have been the ones because it's quite far for me to drive. And then the stores that I frequent the most, that I bought from the most, is the one in Utah, as well as the one in Boxburg. Yeah. East Rand Mall. Yeah. I'm from Binani. It's not my fault. Don't judge. Everyone has a sad story.
That's yours.
That's my sad story. That's enough. And then every time I go there, I'm like, I gotta buy something. And the next thing is like, I'm buying something for my mom and my aunt.
Nice.
Because here's the thing, that this is a Moja X one. That's got like the clean. The clean look.
Very comfortable.
Yeah, very, very comfortable. My wife was like, these are fantastic. Yeah. She loves pink, so I got her the dusty pink ones. For 3 months, that's all she wore. I'm like, I wanted to buy another one, so pink pair. Now she's wearing all those all the time. I think it's a scam. She's scamming me to buy new shoes. So then when my mom does like a lot of like work around the house, I'm like, she must just go and wear those. Yeah, 100%. So I want to ask you, in terms of the high performance culture that you find yourself in, because I don't think there's any denying that you're in a high performance culture. I mean, 24 stores, 6 months. She's like, who does that? So I know that the CEO, Theo, is also a very like high performer at the age of 30. He's like basically done more in less time than a lot of people have. So working with that type of personality and drive, was it a major adjustment for you, or did he also have to raise his game because of what you brought to the table? I would assume yes.
He did.
And then how did you guys keep going? Because it's like you're just following the journey, you know, walking the journey. I kill myself. I was walking the journey. It's like seeing us like one success after another. Next thing, you like retailer of the year, then you like top 100 women in retail, and then next thing is GQ businessman of the year, entrepreneur, this. I'm like, I can't keep up. So in that high performance culture, it also makes me look bad. It highlights how lazy I can be at times. But then like achieving all these things, and I'm really a fan of the achievement. So how is it that you are able to not only match that standard, but also keep maintaining it and just keep going? Because some people will be like, I did this and that's enough for me, so now I can just take a step back.
I think, I don't even know if it's a matter of how. Can you imagine if I didn't keep up?
I can't.
There's just, there isn't an opportunity to not keep up. Theo is a very high performance leader. Like he really just keeps going. And I think if you know, we as a team just don't keep up, I think we'd fail him, you know. He can't be, I personally think he can't just be, you know, the one that just brings in all the accolades and the amazing news. I think he has to have a team that, you know, that he has rallied up, you know, that really does the same. So how I do it is because he just does it, and I just have to keep up, you know. But in addition to that, it is me building my own brand. Because as much as one day I may not be in that business, I have to leave a legacy and a mark, you know, and then I also have to leave with something that I'm able to talk about, you know. So there's no choice. I remember the other day he walked into my office and he looked at trophies that had just been delivered for me, and he was just like, is this who you are now? So much pressure, and I'm just like, really? Have you seen yours? You know, he's been very modest, but I think it's also a great sense of pride because he's got a team that is able to keep up, I think, to the very fast pace that he's moving at. Yeah.
And have you ever felt burnt out at times? Well, I can imagine.
Literally yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We talked about this.
Yeah, definitely. I've had to learn to listen to my body, and stop, because as much as we build 24 stores, I think like really in the midst of the pandemic, I never got COVID, but
Lucky you, yeah.
November 2021 I crashed. My body completely crashed, and I then got COVID, and it was really bad. But that was just me not being able to stop and listen to my body, and they say your body will force you to take care of it. So yeah.
That's 100%.
I've been burnt out. Yeah.
How did you get up from that?
Sure. I've had to go to get back to the gym. I've had to learn to stop. Sometimes I just need to stop, honestly. I've learned to just stop and say, hey, look, I'm not going anywhere today. Because then what's the point of building if you just
gonna like break your body down for it? Yeah.
And because then you just don't get to see then the results of what you've done.
So a question I want to get a female perspective on is that on the journey to release my third book at the end of this year, very tough topic for me to talk about, and that is Father of Man, title of Father of Man, ways that how can we build better men? Not perfect men, not ideal men, not supermen, just better men. And then given your entire journey, from what I'm sensing is that you had great support from male figures, because the entire hashtag, hey, men are trash, I'm like, yeah, thank you, what are we going to do about that now? Or am I next? I don't know, are you? I don't know. So then I'm trying to figure out, too much focus is being put on what's going wrong, and not what men can start doing better, start doing right. So you've gotten yourself to being the Wonder Woman of retail, Superwoman of retail.
The title keeps changing. It keeps evolving.
Building a retail superpowerhouse. So I can put a lot of like super people here, like Wonder Woman, Superwoman, and your superpowers is resilience. You've had a lot of male support. So what is it that men wholesale in this country can do better from your perspective?
I think it's definitely support, and I think allow themselves to listen. I think just allowing yourself to listen, and if you are a male in a leadership position, don't just send your female colleagues or staff members to your HR department. I think if you get a better understanding of what people are going through, then you'll know how to support in the best way possible. I think that's just it. I think allow yourself to listen and sometimes just get a little bit involved in people's personal lives so that you know how to support them better.
So what if someone says, look, listen, I don't want to get too much involved in my subordinates' personal lives because I just want to do work and then go home. What do you say to someone who says that?
I think I would say try it. Just try something different. See where it goes, and then I always say to people that how I got in Gobatu was to I just said something, and it was either a yes or a no, but either way I would know where I stand, So I always say to people, try it and see where it takes you, and then you can make a decision after that. So I think I would definitely say just try it, and then let's see.
Just try it.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. So good luck to them. So I want to move to the part of the show where you become the host.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And then you ask me questions about the show, itself, things that intrigue you. Hopefully you've got some.
Woo! I think the first question would be, what is it that people don't know about you or underestimate
People
about you?
don't know or underestimate or both, because they can be different.
It can be different. Okay, let's start with what I think people underestimate about you.
What people underestimate about me is, I think, a competitive drive that I have. Because when I work with people, interact with people, it's not like I'm in your face, I'm gonna take you out, I'm gonna about Michael Jordan you, all these things. No. I think my life, one of the biggest life changes that I've gone through in my life were always a response to a challenge. So if someone challenged me to do something and they say, you can't do that, I'm like, oh really? Okay, all right. I'm putting cases on all of you.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you. So that's an underestimating thing. So I'll go back to the early days in high school. I think a family member said, you'll never be a leader. I was like, oh really? Okay.
Wow.
Okay. One of the best things they could have said to me, I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna show you. So I became prefect, came head of house, became the leader of the year for that year. Exactly. They said I couldn't do it, and I did it. So major milestones in my life come from a competitive challenge, not me competing against another person, but someone putting a challenge in front of me and saying, I bet you can't do that. I was like, I bet you I can. Like writing the first book, someone said, you should write a book. I'm like, what am I going to write about? So I figured it out. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to do that. I'm like, okay, and the next one. The podcast started, someone gave me a challenge. I'm like, the next one. And then sort of the next challenge for me is to travel and speak internationally and globally, and just like travel and go there, and go there, and go there, and go there. Because someone said, I bet you can't do that. I'm like, okay, all right. So sometimes I can be manipulated into doing things because of that. I bet you can't.
You felt like it was a challenge.
It was a challenge, yeah. So then if I'm really challenged, that's why I'm getting excited to speak to people who are considered high performers. Like when Theo comes in, I'm probably going to say, what's your challenge to me then? I'm like Michael Jordan, I'm going to take it personally. Take that personally. So that's part of this podcast. I'm going to bring the most influential, brightest, and greatest minds on the show, because then I start building a relationship with them. And then if you have these people in your speed dial someone you call and speak to regularly, my level has to increase. So for me, I need a challenge. I need someone to put a challenge in front of me that seems difficult to do, because I probably will end up doing it and say, this year I told you so. Otherwise, I'll just get lazy.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I think you've answered my next question actually now. I was going to ask, what is your favorite thing about the podcast? What do you enjoy the most?
The favorite thing about the podcast, I just get to look cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool.
I get to look cool. The most favorite thing about the podcast is learning. For me, this is a medium for learning, because I'm going to be dead honest as if I'm in church right now. Okay. I have my own prejudices. I've got my own biases. I've got a lot of blind spots, things that I do not know, and things that I'm ignorant about. And I think one of the worst types of people is a person who has a strong opinion, but is not open to having themselves be challenged for that opinion. For example, if I have the opinion to say that black is the best color for a show, or if I have the opinion to say you shouldn't have too many lights in your store, and then I'm presented with new information that says actually having lighting is better, actually having gray is a better color for video, then I want to learn, I want to be challenged, because
so you can improve.
So I can improve, I can learn and grow. So, and also it's the relationships that I form. So 27, you are the 26th person, because I did 2 episodes with one person. All of these people now I can call, I can chat to, just have a good conversation with, which is, you're talking about the grand vision. You like have a vision for, say, a startup. My grand vision for the show, for the podcast, after Joe Rogan made $100 million on Spotify, I'm like, I want that money. Thank you. Challenge accepted. Other than that, is if you see people who are like an Oprah or a Trevor Noah, yes, he needs to be on the show as well, and a Joe Rogan. When you speak to them, they're so informed, articulate, and multivariate because they open their minds to different opinions, and they listen to what you have to say, and they're open to having their minds changed about certain things, because 10 years ago they thought this way, 5 years later they think this way. I think it was Ali who said, if you think the same way now as you did 30 years ago, you've wasted 30 years of your life. So that's the favorite thing about this about the podcast, is you learn from people and to build a relationship with them, and for me to be a completely different person, because when you learn something new, you die to your old self. So like I'm a completely new person because I learned that you have to have good lighting in stores. Like, I didn't know that, and then how retail is like. So that's my favorite thing of the podcast, and I used to have it also goes back to the challenge part, right? I used to struggle with inconsistency. So I'll be consistently inconsistent. My dad would say, why are you so consistently inconsistent? Because in the morning he would say, can I please have my tea every morning at this time? And then I'd do it for 3 days and then stop for 2 days. And then I'd do it for 3 days and stop for 2 days. Do it for 1 day and forget. And then he's like, why are you so consistently inconsistent? It's a simple task. You wake up, make me my tea, say hi,
every day.
And just eat. And that's it. And then there were times where I would be ferociously consistent, and then other areas I wouldn't be consistent. I'm like, what is this thing? So I was challenging myself, let me be consistent. And then one of the things that I found is it's like looking for the short-term result, looking for a result too quickly. That's why I'll quit too easily on forming a new habit.
It just took too long.
Well, not it doesn't take too long, that too, but I didn't feel I was seeing the results I wanted to see in the time that I wanted to see it, not what was realistic. So then with this I said, okay, $100 million, okay, I bet I can sign a $1 billion contract. How would I do that? Okay, so do this for 10 straight years, just as consistently and as to the highest level that you can, and don't quit. And after 10 years, which will be 2030, then you can be like, okay, I'm done with this. Only after you put in the time and the consistency, and there's no ways you're not going to see anything after being that consistent with something that you actually like to do over an extended period of time. So that's what I like a lot about this podcast. I love communication. I love speaking to people. I love building relationships. It's like, it's fun. You know? Yeah.
Okay, now this is a difficult one.
Yes.
Who's been your most favorite guest?
Favorite guest? Oh, hey, Joe. Favorite guest?
Think very carefully about your answer.
Yeah, I think very. So, since I won Sky Edition, I'll remove you from the conversation. I'll remove you from the conversation. Okay. So, majority of the guests that I've had, I wouldn't say that I've got a favorite, but I've got one of the most interesting conversations that I had. It wasn't. I think the one which was the most authentic was, I'm not going to say a favorite, but one that had me introspective a bit, because our worlds could not have been far more different. Was a lady. Her name is Sandy Kirkham, and she was telling me a story of, in the church context, how she was preyed upon in the church. Like, she was serving a youth pastor took advantage of her, had a sexual relationship with her, had excommunicated from the church, and it really messed her up mentally, and then she couldn't have a good relationship, and she had to reconcile all of that. And also sort of seeing the strength that she was able to pull herself out of that and confront something that was just so dark, especially in a place where you're supposed to go find hope. Church. And then it's like, and then it had me like questioning a lot of things, because I grew up in the church. I was convinced I was going to be in the next TD Jakes, and then I saw what was going on in church. I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not, because this is one of these is not like the other, So I think that was the one that had me introspective a lot because number one, she's a white female from the United States, and I'm a young black male from South Africa. Like this, we have absolutely zero in common. But then I could actually connect with her because she's being so real, sharing a very human and tragic experience, you know. So that's the thing. I think the most fun that I've had on the show was I think it was like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
3 weeks ago. This was like just pure fun, and this was his name was Karabone. So he was connected via friend, via family, right? He knew they weren't family, but like, you know, family friend.
Yeah,
family
yeah.
friend. So I originated from a place called Davidson in the East Rand.
Okay.
And he still, I think he doesn't still stay there, but he's also from there. So we really connected after, I don't know, 15 odd years. And then we just had just like bro conversations, but yeah, like bro conversations. We were talking about the hood, and I clarified that I'm from Benoni, but not the hood, because it's two different things. There's a suburb called Lakefield.
Yeah, I've heard of Lakefield.
Yeah, you've heard of Lakefield, okay, right. So there's Lakefield, Benoni, and then there's Davidson, Benoni. Davidson is the hood. And I say, people thought, when I say I'm from Benoni, people always think that you're from the river. I don't know for what reason. And I didn't, when I grew up, I didn't correct people. I didn't correct them. I was like, oh, you're from the river? Nope, definitely not. I thought you were from the this time. No, I just didn't correct you.
Yeah.
Because I wanted you to embrace me. You know? And then we just talked about football, we talked about coming from the hood, we talked about just like man-to-man conversations about, I asked the same question, what can we do better? And it was just after the week, I was like a couple of days after Ricky Rick tragically passed away, so we talked about you need to talk as men, we need to share our conversations. And one of the most interesting things that he actually did, I remember this happened on the show, which happened more often, is that he said you must think of the worst case scenario as a guy. You must think of like, what would you do if you found your woman cheating on you? And then you ask people that questions like, yo, I'll kill them, yo, I'd murder them. He's like, I'd walk away and just leave them. Like, walk away, leave them. Then he called his friend. He said, his one friend said that I'll just, he would call him, and then please organize wine, probably red, organize wine, and then drink all night, and then laugh about the problems, and then just move on, because I'm not going to kill someone now with GBV. He called them on the show live. He called them, and then as true as his word, he gave the answer to say, if I found my wife cheating on me, you've been married for like 4 to 7 years. If I found my wife cheating on me, this is what I'd do. I'd call you, can I please stay over there? Can we just drink the whole night? And then we just move on. I was like, that's the most fun that I've had in the conversations. And then it's probably a question that you're not going to ask, but I'll answer the question. Is like, how do I choose my guests? Now,
yes.
I don't have a 5-year plan, PowerPoint presentation. No. I was like, who do I deem interesting, and there's also accessible, that's open to me having a conversation with them. Because when I started, I was like, why don't I just only speak to those people who've blown up, made it? Yes, let's go straight through that.
I mean, it's so much easier.
Yeah. Well, no, it's harder.
No, I mean, it's easy from a viewership and or a listenership, I think, perspective. That it's, of course, if I got the greatest in, people would. Yeah.
However, that goes back to what I was saying with the 10-year vision. I'm like, if I've got 10 years, I have more than enough time to speak to all these people. And then the best conversations I've had are people who, like yourself, they're not Michael Jordan's retail manager, because that's Michael Jordan retail manager. Yeah, you'll get there. But then it's not like this, or this is a mystique about them. It's just you're humble, everyday person, the same age group, different race, different relatable people that like honestly give you the best conversation that builds up that equity. They call it sweat equity, you know, like you build up the equity of all these guests that you've spoken to. I mean, even in the proposal I sent you, I was like, here is the person that I had the conversation that's similar to you. And have similar conversations, because that makes it easier for you to come on, because you said, I've actually put in the effort to go to speak to other people. And then I've like, you've met these quote unquote celebrities in SA. Do we have celebrities, or are they just big media personalities? I don't know.
I don't know. See, this is where this whole PR thing comes in. I don't know.
Because, okay, America's Beyonce.
We've got Theo Baloy.
Beyonce, like, it's different.
I'm not talking celebrities.
I'm saying
celebrities. He's going to be so mad at me.
But Theo's not a celebrity, he's a businessman. He's a businessman. Like, I'm like, my question is, for 5 months, do we have celebrities in South Africa?
Don't we?
We've got Beyonce, and then here we have...
That sings as well. Or just celebrity anyway.
I'm talking about star power.
Yeah.
Like,
oh gosh.
Because think about it, there's Beyonce, there's Kanye, there's Lil Jon.
Well, we've got your Kanye Boss. I mean, she's killing it right now on The Wife. She's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, she does.
She's really doing an amazing job. I think there's a lot.
No, because like I think I was speaking to a nutritionist of mine. Also, someone said, like, I bet you can't get on the cover of Men's Health. I'm like, I bet you. Okay, all right. So then, like, I spoke to this nutritionist, she was like saying, I don't think we have celebrities in SA. I'm like, that's weird, because I can name a few celebrities.
Yeah.
We've got Questa, we've got AKA, we've got Casper, we've got Nasty C, but he left us, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, he left, so I don't think he's still here. I don't think we still own him now. Okay, he just...
We don't own him.
No, he's just there.
He's gone.
He's gone. Like, gone.
Go Trevor Noah, gone.
Trevor Noah, Fanabuye. Must give back to the community. So I'm talking about like celebrities where if you go to Australia, if you go to London, if you go to the US, they wholesale like known who they are. But anyway, that's a conversation I'll have.
Yeah.
But anyway, let me call them Zanzi celebs.
Yes.
There are a lot of them who are cool, and there are some who I'm like, sometimes wish I didn't meet my quote unquote hero or whatnot, because you can be disappointed because you think a certain way about them, and then you start speaking to them, you're like, one of these is not like the other. That's the thing. And to be fair to them, when you reach out to them, they're like, about what? Here's what they start thinking about. Here's why I prefer the everyday person when you are building this, is they start thinking about their branding, their PR, what's going to be said in the paper, what's going to be said on Twitter. I don't care about Twitter, it's not a real place anyway. And what's going to happen on Instagram, what's going to happen here. So I guess that's that tough dimension that they have to face. I didn't think about it the first, but I'm like, actually that does make sense. And some of them, they're just tough. They're like, nah, I'd rather
Not for me.
Not even enough for me, I just don't want to.
Okay.
Some of them are just not like that. So how do I pick the guests? Starting out, I was like, let me speak to an author friend of mine. An author friend of mine became a woman who works in strategic and consulting, and then we went to human resources, but human capital, or people effectiveness. Whatever you guys would come up with. Then I became some rappers, then it became dancers, then it became gym enthusiasts, and then I got a hold of some people overseas, and it was like pastors, and then it was like, I still have an episode I need to air, which is a guy who started Comedy Central. That was also very interesting. That was very interesting. And then now how I sort of like, I'm picking the guests, I'm like, okay, so now I'm comfortable with I've spoken to all those people. I can approach a Tsiamo, I can approach a Theo, I can approach a Vusi, I can approach an Amanda and say, listen, I just want to just chat. I can't offer you, but I just want to chat. I just want to just learn.
Just tell me,
And people, and like, if you come from that angle, then people are more willing than not to be part of this, because the message I want to send through doing this small scale is going to grow bigger. And unfortunately, is that you can start with less than 10,000 rand, and you can just start and then start broadcasting yourself and broadcasting your voice, and it's like, because someone needs to hear what you
exactly. And you know what I love about it is it's fresh. It's I think it's people that you bring on, people that we've heard the interviews from the celebrities,
Yeah.
you know, and it's okay, it's enough, you know. Yeah, I think there's so much more knowledge out there, you know, from different people,
Yeah.
and I think that's absolutely what I love about this podcast.
Yeah, like, so then also like I know Maggie is killing it with the podcast and show. His is more of an urban podcast. So it's like that's more like your celebs. For me, I'm like also want to get atheists. I want to speak to an atheist. I'm like,
Interesting.
yeah. So there's no God. You see all of this. There's no God. And then there's agnostics, and then people who are Hindus. I want to bring in. I want to bring in Nigerian pastors, like seriously. Seriously. They're fire. I want to bring them on. I want to bring on historians. I want to bring on scientists. I want to bring on.
I mean, that's essentially how people just, I think, expand their knowledge, right? But if you keep hearing from the same people, no,
it's like, that's
nothing new.
Absolutely
even if it's something that, you know, it might be against your thinking or your beliefs. I think it's still interesting to open up yourself to hearing that information.
Yeah, I legit want someone to tell me that your entire life in Jabulo was a lie. Tell me why.
Oh, you see, you should bring through a medium or a fortune teller.
I'm on my list.
On
my list. I'm not too sure my church members will be like, what are you doing? I'm learning. And then also another thing that because I recently got married, right? For the last time. We'll never do this again. I'm out. Especially the Zulu woman, very lovely. But
did you just say especially?
Huh?
Did you say especially a Zulu woman?
No. I said Zulu woman. I didn't say especially.
Oh, okay.
You know, otherwise I walk outside.
I'm like, what did you say?
The Zulu women are fantastic, but if this doesn't look out, I'm out. I'm going to get myself a Dominican or an American or that. You know. No, so then the question came up because I'm Swati, right? And the nation of Eswatini, there's a law where King Mswati III, he issued a law to say that if you are a Swati male, you shall marry 5 women or face a prison sentence. I'm not too sure if that was a meme or fake news, but it was very interesting. I'm like, oh wow, yeah. So we had the conversation about polygamy. Does polygamy does not work? I personally cannot do it. One is enough, and I'm out. That's enough. But I want to get a polygamist on the show.
Oh wow.
And I want to understand how do you do it. And because I don't understand it. That's why I just don't understand.
I think bringing what do they call them? Woman that marries more than one man as well?
Yeah, I've heard. Do they even exist?
I don't know.
There's
a challenge for you.
Bitch, I can't find you. I honestly would love to understand, because there's so much taboo around polygamy, especially reverse polygamy, if you want to call it that. I want to know how it works, how it's working for you, just so I can learn. That would probably trend on Twitter, but for the wrong reasons. But I still want to learn. So that's my so that's my favorite thing about the podcast. It's a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
This was amazing.
Yeah.
I love this. I really enjoyed this.
Do you have any last questions? Or?
No. No. I really enjoyed this though.
Yeah.
Love it.
Good. All right, cool. That is, I told you it's going to be like almost 2 hours. So that has been Tsiamo Mathibela. She is a retail super powerhouse. Just came up with that word during the course of the show.
Very retail girl.
Yeah, definitely. She is the retail. You can call yourself the retail girl.
Okay.
I have got a.
Okay.
Like just like in credits we've got starring, you are a steering.
Love it.
So she is a retail super powerhouse, and then she shared her journey. And thank you very much for coming through. And then I think I'll call you back like 6 months to a year from now, so that we can have another session like this. But that has been me and Tsiamo. And remember that success is a progressive realization of where the ideal, that means you're going after what you've always wanted to go after, because it's aligned with your highest values, and that is the only way for you to live a truly fulfilled and successful life. Thank you very much, Tshiamo. Right.